Yo, which I've been making. So I'm particularly pleased to go through this yet bigger stack of games from the vault today, because as you can probably tell from the blue cases there, we're going to be talking about the Wii U. And me personally, I'm a huge fan of the Wii U. Growing up in not the wealthiest, affluent area, I didn't really know how to spend money on myself. So after many months at my first job and just stockpiling the paychecks, I treated myself to the latest console of the time, which was it the Wii U and a 32-inch TV, and I never looked back. The Wii U does seem to be picking up a bit of heat lately in the collecting scene, and if I had to speculate on why, it's probably just that people feel priced out of other systems. The Wii U has always been viewed as, particularly for Nintendo, a very reasonably priced selection of games, and also just a very high sort of density of quality to the library, because obviously it's a very small library as well, so great for completionists. If there's someone who wants to go for all 130 or something and have a complete collection. They're not all hitters, don't get me wrong. There's like, well, I mean, Christ, Devil's Third or like Truck Simulator and yada yada yada. There's bad stuff in there too, but there's also amazing stuff like this first one here. So what do we have? We've got Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I mean, we all know everything there is to know about Breath of the Wild. I guess I will make the distinction here that this being the Wii U one, well, there is very little distinction. It was one of the sort of bragging points that they made in their marketing materials, that there was going to be almost no difference between the version, whether you got the Wii U version or the Switch version. Obviously, it's not entirely true. You know, case in point, I think the draw distance is much improved on the Switch version. I'm sure you'd find that, yeah, there is going to be some distinction, but largely the same game, largely performs to the same caliber, is my understanding. The next one is... This one, I mean, is so far as to say it's the superior version of Zelda The Wind Waker. Much the same, really. Slightly improved graphics. Did some things like they made the sea less of a pain to traverse and stuff like that. Just some quality of life improvements. Obviously, it's much cheaper if you missed the boat. It's still kind of pricey, this version. I mean, it's Zelda though, and it's a big famous Zelda, and it's the superior version of Zelda. But I mean, Christ, I can't say what the number is off the top of my head, but I can guarantee if you were to look this up for GameCube, you know, you're probably not going to be able to afford it. But this, again, probably still quite expensive, but it's not going to break the bank to the same degree. Another Zelda one now, Hyrule Warriors. Now, this is not the superior version. It's superior in the sense of you can pick it up for under a tenner every time, and it still does have a mountain of content. It performs well graphically. I mean, again, it's the Wii U, it looks pretty good. But it has had two re-releases, the one on the 3DS and the one on the Switch, and my understanding is each time they added more and more content. By the time of the Switch one, it's a substantial amount more content, but it is going to be, you know, both of those versions are quite a bit pricier than this. Like I said, you expect to pay like 15 to 20 quid for the 3DS version. Switch is going to be yet more again. You can get this, I mean, I paid £8 I think for this, so yeah, it's not going to be too much movement on that price point there. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. I have played this, but I played it on the Switch, so I don't know. You know, it didn't look like much extra content had gone into the Switch one. And it does also have a 3DS version that looks to be much the same. This one obviously just with slightly, well, actually much better graphics, but the one on the 3DS doesn't look too bad. Yeah, I just saw this, and because I enjoyed playing it on the Switch, I picked it up because, again, it was only a couple of quid. But I can't say sort of how good it was. Because like here we can see, well, there's a nice little feature, look around using the gamepad. I didn't have that kind of feature on the Switch, so... again, it's probably just going to be much the same, and that means there is a perfectly adequate little puzzler, not too challenging. Just something to sort of keep your hands busy when you can't do too much else. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Yeah. Again, this is well known from the Switch port. We're going to see a few of these are going to be obviously Switch ports. Because again, just to speak to the testament, you know, to speak to the quality of the how good the WiiU library was, that when the Switch was in that dearth of content around the second year, that was their shortcut, was to just to port over great games that unfortunately not enough people had seen. And again, again, it speaks to like how good these games are, that whenever they did re-release them, they felt that there was minimal need to add more to make them a valid experience, like a worthwhile experience for the price that they charged. Because like all they did was add Funky Kong for this one, that was infamous. And again, what did I pay for this? It was very cheap, it was like £10 or less. Whereas, you know, if you wanted to buy this new, it cost you like 50 or 60 quid. I remember there was some outrage that it costed more than when this retailed. Yeah, 50 or 60 quid. Even if you got it second hand on the Switch, you know, you probably look like 25 plus or something, whereas you get almost the exact same game for 10 or under. So, this next one, I wouldn't recommend picking up, to be honest, Funky Barn. I got it because this probably will be a bit of a collector's piece in the future. There were very few releases of this game. I want to say 40,000, but I don't know if I'm pulling that number from my butt. The point is, yeah, this wasn't like made and released by Nintendo or anything. This was a much smaller affair. It's already worth a bit of money as one of the harder to find games, but it's not actually a particularly good game. It's not bad. It's just a farming sim, a very simple farming sim, and there are much better farming sims out there if you're going to spend your time doing it. Yeah. I mean, if you see it for cheap, like I said, maybe pick it up because it might be worth something one day, but also don't worry about it. Like, if I had the choice to grab either of these games for a £5, I'd go for Donkey Kong Country because it's more fun to play. So, next game, Kirby and the Rainbow Paintbrush. Or Rainbow Curse if you're as 20% of my audience. Oh, yanks. Kirby and the Rainbow Paintbrush. It's a difficult game to talk about. Me, personally, I didn't enjoy it. It was difficult to control this particular sort of like... He sort of auto walks a little bit and then you sort of draw something for him to get attached to, and then... well, that's not even the problem. I mean, again, it wasn't a great control scheme, it was a problem. But, the real problem with it is that, as with a lot of platforming type games, the camera moves from left to right. The problem is, and I will display for you on this camera here, most people are right-handed, so you can't see what is coming towards you. And yeah, I just feel like this was a very strange... It's almost like it wasn't play-tested, or that everyone in Japan is left-handed or something. I couldn't get over it when I was playing it, that I could basically not tell what was going on the whole time. It is gorgeous. It's a gorgeous art style, and Kirby games, obviously, they always sound lovely, but as an actual game, I didn't enjoy it too much, which was a huge disappointment. I really like Kirby. This next one was, for a while, a exclusive to the Wii U. I don't know what the hell that noise was then. I know it was my flatmate, but what the hell is he doing? This was an exclusive to the Wii U, and it's not now, so there's not too much reason to pick it up on here anymore. It is considered to be a particularly good LEGO game, which is not really a compliment. LEGO games are typically pretty... They've been the same game for like 20 years, so... I don't know, it was alright, but again, it was just another LEGO game to me. This does have a slightly unique feature to the Wii U, which is use the gamepad to kind of look around as a sort of camera. I don't remember exactly what it was, but some sort of scanner. And I'm sure obviously the scanner is still in there in the other versions, but its functionality was sort of designed around the gyroscope in the gamepad. So yeah, arguably the superior version, but in a very minimal version. This is a bit of a warning story, I guess. I got this on Amazon, and I was very disappointed when I received it that it was a code in the box, which was not made clear at all anywhere on the page, and the picture was of just a normal StarFox guard case with none of this stuff on here that I'm gonna guess means it's not a physical version. And Amazon recently have gotten really bad with they actually want you to return stuff when I didn't make this mistake. This was all the seller's fault. I don't just want my money back. I either want the money back or I actually want to be sent the game. I don't want to go through like a bunch of hassle to return something. It's which I'm currently having to do for another game. This one I just decided to keep playing because if you just download the game, exactly. I mean, imagine now with the shop closing, will a code like this even work? Because this was done through the shop. So yeah, be really careful with this and just buying in general online for these older consoles. Yeah. So as I was saying, this is actually like a pretty neat little game, little tower defense. Pretty much just, I don't know if maybe it existed to be kind of like a tech demo in general. Like it kind of feels that way. It's like almost like a proof of concept for how the gamepad would work. I think particularly with how the control scheme is with Star Fox Zero, which in a lot of cases this was bundled in with, just to get you accustomed to quickly swapping, looking up and down between your TV and the gamepad. It's not too hard. It is just a little bit of fun. I quite liked it. Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart 8 is the biggest selling Mario Kart of all time. One of the biggest selling games, it must be, of all time, if that's the case. Let me just... I mean, it's fine. I'm not one who loves Mario Kart. There were quite a lot of additions to this, like the gliding and the sort of anti-gravity kind of thing. It was cool. Obviously, again, it does look gorgeous. But I don't know, maybe do get a Switch version just for now there is all this extra content going into it. Down. But no, you could definitely get by with just what is included in this version. And again, I mean, much cheaper. Much cheaper than getting the Switch version, obviously. But I don't know, it's hard for me to be too excited about this game, so I'm going to move on. Again, Nox is a bad game or anything, I don't particularly care for Mario Kart. And then another one to follow on that isn't something really to brag about or write home about is Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. Now, I picked this up because... And I knew that it was not supposed to be a particularly good game, but it was cheap, and I've never really played a tennis game, so I thought I would be happy with whatever. And I was, you know, it is, if you'll forgive the pun, serviceable as a tennis game, but I don't know, it's not really. I'd skip if I were you, to be honest. Like, the next time I want to play tennis, I won't be picking up Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, I'll be picking up Wii Sports. So Bros U, this is fine. This is pretty good. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, no, this is the one that's just pretty good. You know, as we talked about in the 3DS video, this was sort of like during an era where the Super Mario Bros. Games were a bit paint by number. They were always fine, they were always good enough, but you know, they were also definitely skippable. Again, this is very cheap, but I wouldn't rush, I wouldn't go out of my way to pick that up over another game. This other one though, Nintendo Land, I would. And this was it a packing game? It certainly got that vibe about it. It certainly got that kind of like a Wii Sports kind of vibe about it. And what it is just a series of mini games, but they're all themed around IPs, Nintendo IPs. And they make, the reason I say that it's like a packing game is that, again, it feels a bit like a Wii Play or something like that. But yeah, the games are all pretty good, actually, as opposed to Wii Play, which is, the games are all very tutorial. These actually feel like games. And it's a good little multiplayer game as well. Yeah, it's a fun little party game, but you'll pick it up for like £2 or £3. It's very cheap, but you probably won't play it too many times, but you'll have fun for the times that you play it. This next one, people are too hard on. Paper Mario Color Splash. I mean, again, we were talking about this in Sticker Star. This is much better than Sticker Star, but I don't know. It's an experience that is quite mid for Paper Mario. Again, as I'll say, you know, a mid Paper Mario game is still a very good, very enjoyable game, in my opinion. But a lot of people would be like, a lot of people would say skip. I would say, no, this one's worth picking up. You'll pay a little bit more money for this one as well. This is one of the more expensive titles, but not substantially more expensive. And again, people will say, well, don't spend all the money on quite a mid experience, but I don't know, I still think that this is a perfectly enjoyable game. So the next one, as I said in another video, I haven't actually gotten around to this yet. My understanding is that this is the best Pikmin game. Like I was told, do not play this one until you play the other ones first, because it's so good you won't want to play the other ones. So I'll take those people's word for it and hold out. But again, this was another one that was re-released on the Switch, so I'm going to assume, judging from the caliber of the other games that they selected, that yeah, it does live up to those standards. Right. Oh yeah, but again, you'll be paying like a quarter of the price for getting it on the Wii U, so yeah, consider it. Pokken Tournament. This game, oh man, there was so much hype when this came out. But it became massively deflated, basically because it always looked like it was a 3D game, and people have been talking about like a 3D fighting Pokemon game for a good while. It was a good concept on its own. This then goes on to being, when you're actually in game, every fight sort of like, certain attacks will transition you between the 3D fighter and like a 2D fighter, like Street Fighter. And it's weird. I kind of give it prep. I can give it points for I don't know. I kind of give it points for being this quirky little weird game, but I can understand why people don't like it. One of the things I actually think is fantastic about it is of all the Pokemon's moves, you can kind of you can see that like all their attacks correlate to in-game moves. So that's always like a really nice little detail they didn't have to go to in this. I do recommend getting the Switch version over this one. Again, you'll be paying much less for this one, but I don't think it's worth paying less for this one. Not only because the extra content that exists in the Switch version, but because this one really strained the Wii U, and it doesn't run too well. So, yeah. And again, particularly with like any sort of like competitive game, but you know, fighting game, you don't want there to be frame rate drops and stuff like that. So switch for that one. I've not played the next game coming up, Skylanders Supercharge. I just saw this in a charity shop for 50p. My understanding is that you need these particular Skylanders races to play the game. I don't know because I've not tried, but that's why I've not tried it. I thought you had to. And I figured I would just pick some up at some point, just on the cheap somewhere. A couple of these, so they got this one and Bowser as well, and they are quite cool little figurines. So I kind of, like I said, I probably will pick those up at some time. If it is a racing game, which it probably is, like I said, I won't enjoy it. But there it is, Skylanders Supercharge. This next game I am quite excited to talk about. It's Splatoon, and my god, this game is fantastic. And it is looking a little bit dated at this point. It looks a bit rough around the edges, unfortunately, when the art style is so important to it. But yeah, this is such a well-made game. Even if we're just talking about the single-player experience, which, yeah, it's short. It's only like 5 hours, 6 hours, something like that. But it's almost like a masterclass in game design, particularly the last boss. Oh, it's generally, it's so good. It's such an enjoyable game. Yep, I need to pick up Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3. I need to make that a priority. Right, Star Fox Zero. Well, sometimes you gotta take the bad with the good. This game, by people who master it, who master the sort of high skill floor, they say this is a really good game. I am not one of those people who could reach those levels. Maybe one of these days, but Yeah, I hope so, because there is good stuff to the Star Fox series. I wish I had played more of them, and so it's disappointing that one of the few that I own, I basically can't play. Right, now this was one I was getting confused about earlier, because this is awesome. I love this Super Mario. This might be my favorite Super Mario game. Obviously it's got the new version with Bowser's Fury, and it's slightly sped up. It's up to you which one you think is worth picking up over the other one. Me, I was perfectly happy with this purchase, and I would recommend it to others. Right, Super Mario Maker. And this is when you know you're a collector, because I bought this after the services had already shut down, after the service had shut down. And the reason I bought it is just because it came with this little nifty book. And I think the back describes it as like, get ideas for making your levels from this. Oh really? Yeah, that's not a level. None of these are. That's not a level. That's not a level. I don't know what those numbers represent anymore. But, do you know what? It's very nice. It's a nice little thing to flick through. It's got some nice artwork in there. And again, because the servers had shut down, this cost next to nothing. So, yeah. Nice little... I call her a collector's edition, but I suppose it sort of falls in that kind of bracket. Yep. Right, next one. Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. This was my favourite Smash. And... I find it surprising that a lot of people go, Smash 4? Because... when I was... I wouldn't say I was ever part of a fighting game community, but I'm sort of adjacent. I'm friends with people who were big in a fighting game community, and they loved this. The fighting game community seemed to love this. They seemed to think it was the best Smash for a long time. They still think it. They still prefer it over Ultimate, the people that I know. And like I said, this was my personal preference. But yeah, I mean, you know Smash, you know everything about it. It's just another iteration again. Personally, my preferred one. Xenoblade Chronicles X. So I'm not super familiar with Xenoblade. I've got the original one, but haven't played it. My understanding is that this is like a side story. It isn't exactly the same experience as the usual, as the typical Xenoblade games. I couldn't say if one way or another. Me, I wanted to like this, and I didn't, because this was at a time where I had like 3 games for the Switch, and this was one of them. That Switch, Wii U, and I knew that it was massive, but the thing is, it's just too big. It's one of those things. It's one of those situations where you get given like 30 side quests at once, and it's just too much, and you kind of just feel like you're just trying to efficiently just tick off as much stuff as possible, and it doesn't necessarily feel fun to me a lot of the time. So I didn't get too far into it, so I don't know anything about this mech, or if there's any cool stuff. I was impressed by the graphics. Personally, this had a weird fighting style. I don't know if this is how all the Xenoblades go, but it had like an MMO kind of situation where you like selected an enemy and it fought for you, and then I think maybe you could hotbar some particular skills. Did I say the graphics were great? The graphics are great, and I do get a sense of the verticality that they talk about when they're talking about Xenoblade games from this, but I feel like I'm being too hard on it if I say skip this, but I will just say, yeah, buyer beware, I guess, because I personally didn't enjoy it too much. Next one, Yoshi's Woolly World. Again, this is a hard one for me to talk about, just because I like the Yoshi games, even though they're quite... the base of them is quite simple. And like I said, you sort of choose your own difficulty with how much of the additional content you want to engage with. But this was too easy. This was too babyish. And that's disappointing to say. The amiibos for it were gorgeous. I'd love to get myself one of the Yoshi amiibos. The Yoshi Woolly amiibos. And yeah, again, it was a beautiful game, and that's about it really. Got a great art style. That's all that's positive I can say about it. So there. And then the last one I haven't played, although I did watch my friend play the remake recently, which is just called Zombie. This game isn't what I thought it was. I thought it's some sort of multiplayer experience, but I thought that it was like a sort of like dungeon master kind of situation with whoever had the gamepad, and you were kind of like, I'm not trying to beat, oh, obviously you're trying to beat each other, but it's not what I thought it was, is what I was told. So, and it's just a bit of a mid-survival game, and apparently it is much worse on here than it was in the remake, and the remake did look great, if I'm honest. And I know, I guess one perk is you'll see it for only like $3 or $4, so. And again, what was a perk when I bought it was that it wasn't exclusive, that matters to me. But it's not an exclusive anymore, so that's that. And that is my Wii U collection. A couple of things to talk about then, just to keep an eye out for, because there are other good games out there. Tokyo Mirage Sessions, something that's quite good. Rodeo the Sky Soldier. If you can get a cheap copy of Game & Wario, you're laughing, but I think that's not supposed to be the best Wario game out there. I don't know, I'm sure there's a couple of others, but we've hit most of the big ones here. So, yeah. We'll leave it at that. As always, happy to talk about anything gaming related. Just hit me up in the comments.